I'd like to call this January 12th, 13th. I put my glasses on, work session to order. And basically, we're doing a work session, and if there's any action that needs to be taken, we could suspend this meeting and then go to a voting meeting, but since there's not a quorum, unless another council person shows up, we will not be able to vote on any items this evening. So with that, I'm going to open up the meeting to the chief, who has a couple accommodations he would like to give out.
Still waiting for one more officer.
That's all right, chief.
Up here. We're okay now.
You want this?
Officer Davis and Sergeant Morris, please come forward. Back in September, over a 4-day period, the borough had 2 arson cases that occurred at the same residence on Buckley Street. One of the first responding officers was Officer Davis, who himself is a firefighter. He, along with Sergeant Morris, investigated these 2 arson cases. Fortunately, there was no injuries, but there was property damage at each of the arsons. Over a period of approximately a month and a half, with good old-fashioned police work, interviews, surveillance, some of the modern technology that we have here in Bristol Borough, they were able to develop a suspect and then also made an arrest. And for all the hard work and efforts during this investigation, the mayor and I would like to give them an accommodation. And the accommodation reads, to each officer, in recognition of your investigation and arrest of an individual responsible for 2 separate arsons at the same location in September of 2013.
On your hard work and good effort. Mr. Davis, the same. Thank you very much for being outstanding police officers. Thank you very much.
If I may just point out, Chief Slack, if it wasn't for your help in this investigation, your report was exceptional. I wish I got reports like that from all the officers downstairs. You were quite helpful in the investigation. I thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have, I think, Amy's here. Who's here from the theater?
Yeah, we got great.
I'm not Amy.
You can go right up to that microphone and everybody can hear you now.
My name is Greg. I'm from the Bristol Riverside Theater. I'm here just to invite the Bristol residents to our upcoming production of Tuesdays with Maury. On our opening nights, our preview nights, it's only $10 a person. That's January 28th and 29th. And thank you for the council for your support with that. The story, if you're not familiar with it, is a story of hope. And sometimes we get wrapped up in our day-to-day and busy lives and forget the important things, and this is a great reminder. It's only a 90-minute show, so it's a great, if you haven't been to one of our shows and don't have a lot of time on a weeknight, it's a great chance to come and see the shows and see what we have. After Tuesdays with Maury, we also have Capital Steps, where it mixes politics and comedy, and we know that never happens. So, if you get a chance to come out and see that too. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm looking to see if Mr. Pett, that area is. Mr. Pezza.
Good evening and Happy New Year. We give you a brief economic development report and then get into the specific requests we have for tonight. First of all, our facade grant program is moving along very well. As a matter of fact, preliminary interviews began today. There more are scheduled for Wednesday. When a property owner is interested in taking advantage of the facade grant program, they should schedule an appointment, and they'll have an initial dialogue with our design assistance team. They can share what they'd like to accomplish. The design assistance team will make some suggestions. Then they can go back and start building their application. So if there's anyone out there who is interested in this and hasn't come forward yet, we suggest you do so. Contact me as soon as possible. With regard to the Mill Street Crossing Gateway Arch program, we have some good news. I think I reported before that we got a $5,000 grant from Visit Bucks of Bucks County. Well, since then, since our last meeting, we received another $5,000 grant. This one is from the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor Commission. All of this goes because of, I think, because the word is getting out there that some good things are happening in Bristol Borough, and outside agencies are willing to invest in us. We also received a nice donation from the Bristol Borough Veterans Memorial Committee, and we're very grateful to them. So the good news is that all bills for the Gateway Arch have been paid. And we have enough funds left to do some residual things we have to do, like some fencing and some brickwork. And with that in mind, and by the way, the lights should be going up now that the weather has thawed. If we get a little break in the weather, the lights should be going up by the end of this month. And I think the addition of the lighting on that arch is going to make a dramatic impact. With that in mind, I mentioned before that we're selling bricks. We're selling commemorative bricks. The proceeds from the sale help support the arch, but also, more importantly, help support ongoing Raising the Bar programs. So if you like what we're doing, you like to be a part of it, and you'd like to have some kind of a lasting memorial to a loved one or a family or to a former business owner on the street, then by all means buy a brick, and you can contact us for that. The sale ends March 15th. We sold bricks before Christmas and gave each person who bought one a nice color card that they could present to people at Christmas saying your brick is on the way. So that's very nice. You could also pick up order forms from Raising the Bar, from Great Ideas by Ann, from the tax office, from Spice & Company, and Mignoni Jewelry. We've established a garden club, and you're going to be hearing from them in the spring. They're going to be doing things around town. We're just trying to make a difference, and we've attracted a lot of volunteers. When that club gets underway, they've already met a couple of times. Once they roll out their plan, they'll be looking for more volunteers, and we hope individuals across town will come forward. In February, we'd like to talk to you about, we'd like to embark on an ambitious town-wide cleanup campaign in May. We'd like to set aside, I know you guys always declare May, I think, Paint Up, Clean Up, Fix Up Month or something like that. We'd like to do something where we enlist neighborhood volunteers in every part of town. Just ask people to come forward, to be willing to carry the ball, to clean up their neighborhood, get rid of some debris, and let's make this a town-wide effort that we can all get behind. My specific purpose for being here tonight is to respectfully ask the council to consider a resolution establishing a cultural corridor. As I said before, we just got a $5,000 grant from the Delaware and Lehigh Navigation Canal Corridor. A corridor is a concept that says you set aside a designated area that has some commonality to it, and you use it to promote, you use that designation to promote that area. If you remember the plan that you adopted, those of you who were on council at the time in June, the plan you adopted in June that had 60 action points, one of them was to establish a theater district, cultural corridor type district. So basically what we're asking you is to follow up on what we've already proposed and you approved. The district has a physical aspect to it in that it runs from the Harriet Tubman Monument. So it's going to be, imagine yourself walking down the riverfront. You've got the Harriet Tubman Monument representing the black community of Bristol Borough. You have the Puerto Rican Monument, you have the Celtic Monument, the Columbus Monument, and right up to past the wharf to the welcoming flame, and then up the hill along Ratcliffe Street from Mill to the library. So what we're encompassing are the Bristol Riverside Theater, the Grundy Museum, the Grundy Library. That's the physical aspect of what the culture corridor would be. The intangible aspect is the creation of an arts council. We've already launched a meeting. There's going to be a meeting between the Bristol Cultural and Historic Foundation, the Artists of Bristol, the Bristol Riverside Theater, the Grundy Library, all those groups coming together. We believe it's going to be the first time they're ever in the same room. And they're going to be planning activities jointly. They're not going to lose any of their autonomy, but they're going to be able to cross-advertise, cross-reference the things they want to do. So it has, as I said, the physical attribute of the designation of the geography, but also the institutional aspect of getting people together. I want to stress, this has no HARB implications whatsoever. It doesn't change any of our HARB regulations. It doesn't change any of our zoning regulations. It's merely a tool. It's merely a tool by which we can promote the assets we have, the artistic and cultural assets we have. And it's phase one, because we hope to grow this geographically and organizationally as time goes by. There's no cost to the borough. Any future costs that do develop will be borne by raising the bar or by additional grants. And I think that's it. Questions about, so what I'm hoping, if the council is agreeable, I've shared some language with Mr. Salerno, and I hope that Mr. Salerno could draft a resolution. All we're asking you to do is pass a resolution designating this area as our cultural corridor. When Mayor Malley from Collingswood came to town, and people asked him about the theater district in Collingswood, and we said, how'd you get a theater district? He said, we created one. We voted on it and made it. And things happen, good things happen as a result. And we're basically asking you to do the same thing.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Pezza?
Thank you.
Chief, what do you have for us?
Oh, just one thing. After last year, the Delaware Valley Insurance Trust dropped the volunteer fire companies, and they were turned over to the state workers' comp insurance. One of the things in looking at that is that there's a 5% discount if we have a certified safety committee. So I've been working with the chief of the state Safety and Health Office and now the Pennsylvania Fire Commissioner in order to get that information out to all the volunteer fire companies. One, it'll improve the safety of the firefighters, but it'll also enable us, once we get that up and running, to get a 5% discount, which would be somewhere around $1,000.
Anything else?
That's the big issue right now.
Anybody have any questions for Herbie? Herb, I got, you weren't here when the last meeting on our budget, and basically there was a 1 3/4 tax increase that was put into the fire budget? I'm almost sure, I don't have it in front of me.
Yes, 1 3/4.
I think council's under the understanding, and we need to discuss this, that we basically doubled your allocations by doing that, correct?
Yeah, yes.
But I think, and I can only speak for myself, I think council's under the understanding that this year, that money will benefit all the fire companies, but next year you're going to be hit with a bill for the radios.
Yes.
And this tax increase you are now going to be able to pay for the radios without coming back to the borough.
No, that was not what I had originally said. The tax you're looking at, we would have increased each fire company, I believe, $16,000, and then we're going to ask them to take $10,000 of that $16,000 and use it for the next 7 years for radios. So instead of being doubled, it'll actually only be a $6,000 increase.
Well, 6,000 on 16,000, I mean,
Right.
it's almost 40% increase. I mean, you were getting $16,000 to fire companies, correct?
Right, 16.5.
So you're now going to 32,000, somewhere around there.
Yes.
So we doubled your 100% increase. So we all thought that the radios next year in 15, when they become due, that this doesn't have to go back to the taxpayers again, that the fire companies will pick up the radios for the 7 years, and then there may be a tax increase over them 7 years. I just don't want to be put in a position next year that we have to raise taxes again to pay for radios. This is what I don't understand, and you weren't here that night.
Right, but during the budget, I had said that.
But we really never got a chance to discuss this. So, I mean, right now, we passed the budget, so I guess we're going to have to deal with it come
Right,
December.
for this year, we've got, but it goes back to, it was that 20-year period of time where there was absolutely no increase at all. to the fire companies that we've been working with.
And I understand that, and I had no problem voting on it
Right.
to pass this. I mean, it didn't pass unanimous. So
Well, we have a year to work with the numbers.
I think we have a year to work on the numbers and see where we're going to go with this.
And I think, something that Councilman Devine brought up a number of times, and I think we agree, is that we want to start putting some people on notice that we've got to look at these things very closely for next year when we're actually, going through with the fine-tooth comb over the budget, that, we're asking lots of people to be prepared to come up with some creative ideas in dealing with the budget, so.
We still have, if the best scenario is we get those grants. We're in for the grants again this year. So if we're lucky enough to get those grants, that would change a lot of things.
Anybody else have any questions for the fire chief? Arnie?
Back in September, when I was drafting our budget for the police department, in my narrative, I had requested for the very first time a line item for the DARE program, since there's no more state funding available. We also, at two of the budget meetings, I discussed it, and it just didn't seem like there was any opposition to the program. However, when the budget finally did come out, it wasn't listed as a line item. And this is normally the time of year when we start the program, so we can finish it up by May. And I'm asking the council if they'll finance the program. Like I said, at their budget meetings, the wages would be approximately $3,800 to teach 5 classes, and that's considering if Sergeant Rivera, who teaches a class, took everything in overtime. If you were to take some time off in lieu of being paid, that number would go down. So I'm hoping we could get an approval.
Does anybody have a problem with spending the $3,800 to get the DARE program started?
I guess, so it's something that where would it come from, the money?
Out of their budget.
Out of the budget? Okay, if it's out of their budget, that's fine with me.
Anything else?
That's it.
Anybody have any questions for the chief?
I do. Chief, I know we've discussed this before, but about, I guess now, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, there was that quick few burglaries that happened in the Harriman section of town. Number one, I'm wondering if able to give a public update on that, you could. And then number two, I'm wondering, I just know, among other things, people are really shaken when someone breaks into their house for obvious reasons. What is our procedure as a police force to keep those people informed of what's happening with the investigation after their house was broken into?
Well, if there's an arrest made, the officer stays in contact with the person all through the entire process, from the preliminary hearing all the way through up until it goes to trial.
Assuming there isn't an arrest made, is there contact made with the people to say, look, we're still working? I feel like a few people just felt in that circumstance that they were very happy with the initial response and that they hadn't heard much afterwards. And I think it would be a good practice policy. I don't know if, when Pat's looking at these things, if you guys could talk on maybe just an official procedure of follow-up when someone's house is broken into. And is there an update on that?
There's no protocol for that right now, but
Okay.
some officers do. And
Yeah, I'm sure they
some
do.
officers don't.
Maybe it could become official, something you guys might want to talk about.
Anybody else have anything for the chief? Pat, do you have anything?
No. The chief's working on something for me right now, and one of the line items that I'm waiting for is would come from, what office did you say that was, the financial?
Yes.
I'm waiting for a number for the financials on overtime. And the police chief, Arnie has given me everything but that out of the 8 items. So I'm waiting on that. So if that could be speeded up somehow, I'd greatly appreciate that.
Dave, do you have anything?
No, not for the chief.
For the chief?
No, for anything.
Yeah. I have a few things. I didn't get a chance to thank anybody So I'd like to take a few minutes tonight. I wish to thank my wife, my family, my friends, neighbors, and of course my good customers. Try to do a good job for everybody. Thank you. To the North Ward residents. Addressing the concerns of some residents, I'm happy to say that the borough has in place the resources to address your issues. We have the manpower, we have the equipment, and what I think Tony and myself need to do is to coordinate our efforts to get the job done. I'll be working with the manager, Jim, and George Waldron for some of the projects, the mayor, and the police chief for the other issues. And I'll try to give a monthly report on how we're doing in the North Ward. A couple of questions. That vector ordinance, is that on the agenda sometime in the near future? Yes. Okay. And to Greg and Lorraine, well, Lorraine's not here tonight. My grandchildren live right next to Mill Run. Could you give me an update on that, if you have any?
I'll give you what I know, and then I'm sure some of these guys can fill in the blanks. But we met multiple times, Lorraine, myself, Mr. DiGiuseppe, the solicitor, Mr. Dillon, with a developer who is in the final stages of trying to get something done. What they are working on is teaming up with a healthcare provider. So they're the guys, actually, I don't know the address, but if it's Case, is that how you say it? Case is their name. They came here and gave us a presentation way back. They're ready to roll. They just need to get that final stage of the healthcare provider to say yes. And I know they're close, but I know we're hesitant to say this is going to happen because you never want to say that until it's signed on the dotted line.
Come back in January.
Yeah. They're very much in negotiations with someone. I know Mr. Dillon could probably elaborate more on that. I don't know how much we want to put out there in the event that it's not the final decision that is made, but I know they're very close.
Okay.
Very close. Mr. Dillon, do you want to elaborate on that, or?
I can't add much more than that, other than I think they were in touch with a university, trying to deal with a university,
Right.
medical.
And what they said was a major Philadelphia university. That's what they said.
Mr. White is on vacation. I think he's due back on Wednesday, and I'll try to, bother him on Wednesday and tell him I hope he had a nice vacation.
Somebody in January or February, maybe.
Hopefully. Yep.
That'd be good. That'd be a great thing to come back to town. And one other question there. Okay, we've got the vector. The construction trailer on Rackler Street. A couple people I've asked me. Could you tell us what's going on with that? I'm not really sure.
I can elaborate on that one too, if you want. That's also in the East Ward. It's big. It goes all the way to the river, so sometimes people don't know exactly where it is. But they, again, if you want a frame of reference as to who builders are and what they do, if you drive down Durham Road, there's a development called Durham Ridge on the left. Really nice new single-family houses. They're called AmeriCorps. That's the name of their group. They have an office on Main Street in Newtown. And their plan is to build townhomes. So the trailer there is a pre-sale trailer. So you go in and they'll show you what they have and what they're planning on building, and then they make the pre-sales. Once they hit a certain number of pre-sales, then they start building. So right now they're just in the pre-sale phase. In fact, if you go on their website as well, there is a design for what it is that they're planning on building. I don't know if it's AmeriCorps.com or whatever, but if
they start doing well, how many townhomes do you project?
I think the number was it 2?
It's a combination of row houses, townhouses, and condos. I think he's going to try to do the townhouses first.
Right,
I think it's a total of like 170 some.
Yeah, 170.
It's, just so you know, it's the plan that was approved in 2006. And under the extension statute that the Harrisburg passed, even though the 5 years is gone, they can still use that. So they're using a plan that's already been approved. He's just trying to get enough pre-sales to get, I guess, his financing, and hopefully, maybe this year, they might start.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Tony?
Yeah. Did that one. Yeah, as I'm looking over our monthly treasurer's report, I see that there's a bunch of stuff that's still in October. Is there a reason why were not updated at least until December of 2013?
The treasurer's report that you're looking at is for November, so it would, the next report that you'll get will be for December, which will be closing out the financial operation for December 31st of this year. Matter of fact, we're still just getting in the bank statements, for closing out December.
Okay.
It's a historical run.
The other question I have is, it's a North Ward issue, is, did we figure out what we want to do with that Green Street issue with the curbs and the trash truck? I don't know if you and Mr. Waldron had a chance to discuss anything.
They were supposed to go out last week, and I guess it was part of the storm issue. I think the worst thing would be to have to ask the residents to take their trash and put it out on the street, so we're still trying to use that alley. And I think the next option will probably be putting in like a handicap curb cut there, so the truck could try that angle, access entrance way again. But it's very difficult. They don't have any smaller trucks than that. That would probably be ideal, but they just don't have a small truck to get.
Well, I think that the curb getting done, the handicap curb being done, I think it would work fine. When I went over there to talk to the residents, if they come down that alleyway all the way through, when they get to the end, I think that's the easiest turn. If we can turn that into a handicap ramp, I don't think that we're going to have a problem. And I think that would satisfy everybody, satisfy us, the trash people, and the residents. So,
like I said, George and their head foreman from Mascara were supposed to meet last week, and I know it got canceled because of the weather.
Okay. Well, if I don't hear anything from you, I'll hit you up again. No run. How about the Lennox building? What is going on with the Lennox building? Is that still something where we're not getting any taxes on, or is that up yet? What's the update on it?
We never not got taxes on
Oh,
the
no?
Lennox building.
What were we doing with that? I thought it was a tax abatement.
It was called an alert.
Uh-huh.
And what happens is, you come in and the taxes are always the same.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing they didn't pay was, let's say that they renovated and there was another $1 million value put on the building, and the taxes may went up by $20,000 or $30,000.
They would just keep the...
No, they would pay that increase over 5 years and then or 7 years.
In this case, it was a flat 10-year 50%, and that's almost up. It's probably up in a year or so, at which point they'll be paying 100% of the tax.
So basically, when you do these deals, you don't lose anything.
Right.
Because they're
Trying
still
to bring
paying,
people in.
right, you're still paying what you would have paid whether the building was empty
Right.
or occupied. But by bringing Lennox in and doing this deal back then with Rendell was here, we did an alert which they saved the tax, but they broke it down over, Billy said, 10 years.
Right.
So every year it kept going up for 10 years till they reached the maximum they can pay.
Now, are we in talks with them right now if it's going to be up in a year or so?
That's all done through the county.
There's
We don't
nothing to
know
talk
do
about.
it.
Oh, there's
It's 10
nothing?
years is the limit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing I want to talk about is during the budget meetings, is that everybody, wanted to talk about, cutting back and not losing services. And I think that's important that we start in January, talking about some of the things that we, need to get a hold of, control of, cut where we can. And, so I just want to go over a couple of those items now that, that I thought about and thinking that we could help. Now, the doo-wop. Everybody loves the doo-wop. I love the doo-wop. I mean, that's my favorite type of music. But to spend $25,000 on something that we just really, we're bringing in a lot of people, and I understand it's a showcase for the borough, and I would love to keep it a showcase. I also would like to add, something for the merchants that are down on Mill Street, so it's more effective for them. They get something, out of it. And to make sure that we get people that just come down to the doo-wop, that they want to check out more of Bristol than just that one corridor when you're coming down Mill Street or even behind Mill Street, and that's all they see. So I was hoping that we could, instead of, in the sense of we're putting $25,000 towards doo-wop, with the ability that some of the people have, Mr. Pezza does a great job with the, raising the bar, keeping it local. If we could get some people to donate, to put more money into donating. The other idea I had too, and some people might not like this, but the companies or the businesses that do work in the borough, I would love for those guys to donate towards those types of, those types of positions, or those types of, get me over here, of fundraising versus donating to a political action group. And what I mean by that is to the regular person, the regular everyday person in Bristol. They see, a company that comes into the borough, whether it be, an architect or whether it be, a construction company. If they're doing work for the borough and they're donating money, instead of it going to a specific political group, I would like to see that money go towards doo-wop to cut down on the cost. So, for instance, if you have a company like R&S that does a lot of work for the company, and they donate, and they do a great job for us. They donate their service, they donate their equipment, and they donate money to political, action groups or political, action PACs. And, I think if we took that money and put it into some of these other programs, the doo-wop, Italian Day, Puerto Rican Day, African American Day, Celtic Day, I think that, the people of the borough would feel a lot better, wouldn't feel more like a pay-to-play type of atmosphere. The other thing I would like to see is, it seems like our borough workers, there's so many jobs and so much, great equipment that we have. I would like to see them do more of the work. So instead of subbing out work where, we have companies that are cutting our grass or manicuring our lawns for the municipal building, cutting or maintaining baseball fields, cutting down trees, fixing lights, all these things I would like to see our borough workers do, so we don't have to sub out as much work. So I think these are things that are, are fiscally responsible and going to help the borough in the long run. So it might not seem like a lot of money, 10,000 here, 25, but it all adds up at the end. So I think if we deal with it now in January, each month that we talk about it, at the end of the year, it won't be something that just hits us in the face, and now we're scrambling trying to figure out ways. And I think it's something that you do on a month-to-month basis, and you make it work. Some of the other things I would like to do is, things that we are not budgeted for, right? The next thing I want to talk about is, we don't have anything budgeted for our temporary inspector position. Are we continuing with that position, or is that something that is done? I'm not sure of, but I know we're not budgeted for it. Do we have any idea what we're doing with that position?
Right now, we hired Mr. Brannigan on a temporary basis. So much an hour, so many hours a week, and we have kept to that hours, and it hasn't gone over. There's no overtime involved. As far as the borough inspector, I think we got a letter. Didn't we get a letter in our packets, or no?
On what?
On Kevin.
I know Mr. Miller, feels he needs them at the moment, so.
As far as I know, he's doing an outstanding job, and we're getting caught up on a lot of stuff that's been put on the back burner. And he felt to keep him on, and I think the manager felt that as long as John said we needed him on, he would keep him on. But, I mean, there's 4 of us here tonight. If you want to tell the manager tomorrow not to bring him in, that's, council's decision. It's not,
I don't want it to be a situation where you're saying if you want to bring them in. It's just something we didn't have, it wasn't budgeted for the next year.
everything's not going to be a line item in the budget. I mean, we've talked about this numerous times.
Right.
You're going to add cost to some things, you're going to save cost on some things. Right now, we feel he's valuable to the borough. He's doing an outstanding job for the borough, and if we're going to bring somebody in and keep them on, and you want to go through an interview process, I have no problem with that either. And I'm going to talk about that later on when it's my turn.
Okay.
But
Well-
right now, the manager and the inspector feel that he's needed to be here. It's still our decision. If you feel that you want to have the manager tell him tomorrow that we don't need him anymore, the 4 of us are here, we could discuss it. Dave, Dave, how you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? Kevin Brang is a personal friend of mine, and I would not want to discuss that in an open...
Oh, you have to. You're in this seat now, so you got to discuss.
I would
Publicly.
abstain on that decision, to be honest with you.
He's a
I won't say
personal friend of
anything
mine,
like's
too.
been said. I think that should be in the back rooms and all that stuff. I think the guy got run through the ringer, and I didn't like that. So I wouldn't run anybody through the ringer.
Well, let's look at it this way. It comes down to keeping him on right now.
If
on a
the
temp-
manager says we need him, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Tony?
Okay, well, it's not the idea, and I agree with what you're saying, if they're saying we need them. The problem that I have from the beginning wasn't personal against Kevin at all. The idea was putting the best person there that was, qualified for the position. Then the second part, what I'm bringing up today, is that we talked about budgets, keeping in the budget. So there was 0 on the budget for the part-time inspector. So we're in January, and we're already not following the budget. That's the problem. That's what I'm bringing up now. It has nothing to do with Kevin. He's doing a great job. That's awesome. And if it's something that we can afford, and he's doing a good job, I'm not there to condemn the man. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure it's the best qualified person, and it's in the best interest of the borough, both financially and, and whatever other way it could be. The next thing I thought of, again, now these are things that, a lot of people run away from and they don't want to bring up because it's easy not to bring up things and to put themselves, on the chopping block. But I'm willing to do that, and it has nothing to do with, politics or being elected. I'm not interested in that. And the next thing also is, I think that if I would like to put onto the agenda, I know we can't do that today because we don't have the vote, but I would like to set a $5,000 maximum per month for our borough solicitor. And after that $5,000, then we could, it could be brought back in front of council, and then we could vote on council if that's something that, we feel is necessary to do. I think by doing that, we keep, we'll be able to keep closer to what we budgeted for. So I think that is, another idea where you're saving money and you're not messing with the integrity of, the business of the borough. So those are just some of the things that that I'm bringing up today in light of the budget for in the next coming year. So that way in November, it's not a surprise when, we're trying to cut things. I think we should continue to do it on a month-to-month basis. And, I'm going to look over these things and, just come up with suggestions. If the only thing I could do is bring them up. If the majority of council doesn't agree, the majority of council doesn't agree. It's just, what I feel is something I want to do. That's all I have.
So are there suggestions, they're not things you want to put on the agenda?
No, on the agenda, I want to set the $5,000 max for our solicitor.
How about all the other things, the trimming of the borough building and all this stuff?
I would like to put all these things,
That's what I'm asking you, so Mr. Dillon can put them on next month's agenda.
Is the Vector on next month's agenda?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Or do you want to wait till now, or do you want to give them to him now, what you want to be voted on?
no, well, we could wait because we don't have enough people here to even vote on it, so I don't see, it's not going to kill us to wait.
No, but it's up to you, whatever you want to
Yeah,
do.
no, that's fine, we could wait.
The Courier Times had all the reorganizations yesterday. It was pretty interesting. A lot of the solicitors do have retainers, and then certain things, they charge a certain amount of money if they got to go beyond that retainer. I think that's what Tony's talking about. I saw quite a few municipalities had that system. So I don't...
Johnny, anything else?
No, that's it.
Greg?
A few things. I know we hashed it out a little bit, and then there's still some confusion about if you have televisions that you need to be, or computers, right, that need to be disposed of. Because actually, I just saw on my way here, as a matter of fact, some people had TVs ready for the trash to pick them up, and our regular trash will not be picking them up. What I think, and Mr. Dillon can correct me if I'm wrong or add to it, but what Mr. Dillon told me is that what we're doing right now is encouraging people. You can actually get some money for your own TV if you take it to Best Buy. They have a recycling program going on. Well, they will take it from you and maybe even give you a little bit of money for it, number one, and that's our first recommendation. It's just a recommendation. Second one is, if you feel as if you can't do that and you are strapped with the ability to get it anywhere, please don't just put it out on the curb and leave it. Let us know you're going to put it out there, and we will notify the borough crew, and they will come get it and make some sort of plan later on with Mascara to get rid of it. But if there is any question about whether the TVs will be picked up by the trash company, as of right now, they won't.
That's correct. They're not allowed under the new DEP regulations that went into effect last year. But Mascara has given the borough a dumpster down at the yard, so we'll put the TVs in there that we do happen to come across, and they'll eventually dispose of them at no cost to the borough.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Do we know what's in these TVs that all of a sudden now we can't?
I'm not an expert on that.
No?
It's
They didn't say anything?
probably some bureaucrat in DEP justifying his existence, his or her existence.
On another note, with the question about Kevin and about the inspector position, one area where I am in agreement with Tony is I think the uncertainty is probably not even fair to Kevin at this point in time. I think we do need to define what we want out of Kevin, and then decide what our plan is. And I think he's doing a great job. And I've heard a number of things about really helping Mr. Miller. I did speak with a constituent who I actually honestly thought had a complaint about Kevin, and they didn't at all. In fact, they told me they were very appreciative that he came over and talked to them about a situation that was going on their property. I'm not going to elaborate on it, but I had thought they were disappointed, and they weren't. They were very happy with the way it was handled. So my point is, I just think it's unfair to Kevin. You still see these people that are, what's going on with Kevin, and they're posting on Facebook and saying all this stuff that they want to say. We need to define what our plan is, I think, for the future. So I think we need to look into that. And then the last thing that I have, and I don't know how to stress, in my opinion, how very, very important this is. And I don't want to discount any of the things we talked about this evening as being unimportant, but to me, this is one of the most important things we've dealt with in this town in years. And that is the proposed incinerator, industrial waste incinerator, that is going to be put in, well, at least the plan is at this point in time to be put in at Dow Chemical. Now, I do not claim to be an expert on the environment. I am not. I do not claim to be an expert on even the laws regulating such a thing. What I do know, though, is that we are a small town that borders Bristol Township. Some people probably don't even realize that most of Dow Chemical is not in Bristol Borough. It is in Bristol Township. That being said, it's got to be very easy for Bristol Township to say, it's fine with us, because it's fine with them, because it's not in the township. We are surrounded by Roman Hall's Dow Chemical. I don't know what industrial waste incinerator necessarily means, but my instincts tell me that it's not going to be good. And when I say it's not going to be good, I know that we have asked questions. I know Mr. Salerno has sent a letter on, and I know, you may have read in the Courier Times that Burlington is really raising a lot of havoc about this, and for good reason. And I think we're doing our due diligence in asking some questions. But I can say at this point in time, and I know also tonight, right, Sally's at the meeting, is that right? Right now, our zoning officer is at a meeting that is dealing with this, so we're dealing with it. But at this point in time, Sally would need to come back with something amazing for me to be able to say, that's going to be good for Bristol. I have deep, deep concerns about what that incinerator will be. I have deep concerns about the fact that Bristol Township is silent about it. Again, considering they're going to reap all of the tax benefits, they're going to reap all of the benefits to their community, and the only thing we're going to reap is a smokestack that's incinerating industrial waste. So hopefully we can keep an eye on that and really, look at what Sally comes back as a report to us, so that if we need to start taking more steps or make more of an effort to let them know, just like Burlington, that we're vehemently opposed to this as well, I think it might go a long way.
Just jump on the word. I had that on my sheet to talk about. Mrs. Rodriguez brought this up, I think in December's meeting. And at that meeting, we were sending, because we had a council meeting for Christmas, we were sending Sally to that meeting because it's the same night we met, to enter a statement into the record, letting them know, what's going on. Right now, nobody knows enough about it to say what's going to happen. I know everybody in town saying that the council's not aware of this. We're all aware of it. It was in our packets. We discussed it publicly on the floor. We have our zoning officer at Bristol Township's meeting tonight, which has probably filled the capacity. And we're going to make sure that the borough residents are protected, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure of that. But again, it is in the township, so whether we're opposed to it or not, and they approve it, there's really not too much we can do. But they're going to be under extreme pressure from Burlington and other towns around here that are involved. Was it Florio? Or?
Yeah, Florio.
Florio's involved. He's representing people too. So just for council, here's the letter that was passed. Sally has tonight that she's going to be reading at the Bristol Township meeting.
Can you get the press one too?
Merle, our emergency management coordinator, was going to go also with Sally tonight, so something came up. But we're well aware of what's going on, and we're going to make sure we stay on top of it 100%.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Do you have anything else, Greg?
No, that's it.
Okay, I got a few things. First of all, the first thing we need to do, and do it as soon as possible, start setting up interviews, because the borough needs to hire a secretary as soon as possible. We're too short-staffed, and if a girl takes off and Bridget's downstairs, we're down with one girl trying to run a borough, and we can't do it. So there are applications up here that Mr. Dillon's going to be contacting, and if anybody else in town is interested in a job that's starting salary is $15 an hour, please contact the borough or come in as soon as possible, and I'll pick a committee to start the interviews, and I'll try to get it down to maybe 3 or 4 people, and at that point, the entire council can meet these 3 or 4 candidates and ask them any questions that they want. And if there's somebody on that list that this committee doesn't recommend and you still want to bring them in front of council, we'll be willing to work with you with that. So we need to get that done as soon as possible. Also, I want to get on the agenda to finalize this hiring of Kevin Brannigan. I think the borough needs to hire him part-time for now and make it official, because I think he's doing a great job. And whether it's in the budget or not, just like the secretary, we all knew we had to hire somebody. So in February's meeting, I'd like to formally take care of that too. If anybody wants to start an interview process with that, that's fine, let me know. If anybody wants to call the borough, but as far as I feel, we have somebody that's qualified, doing a good job, and I don't see any need to do any more interviews, because you can't ask for anybody has more experience right now, because he's been doing it. So I'm very happy with that position. We talked about the DARE program. Okay, let's get back to the budget. I talked to Herbie a little bit about the budget. In the budget, there are certain areas of the budget that have more money in the budget than we're going to spend. So there's two options. One, we could open up the budget and reallocate this money into different funds, or we could keep the budget the way it is and move this money around, because the police budget right now is way overfunded. And we added things in the police budget that we're probably never going to use. So we have that option. My recommendation would be for council and for the manager and all the department heads that nobody in this borough could spend any money without bringing it back to council unless it's something that's repairs, normal day-to-day operation, maintenance, stuff like that. If you want to hire an employee just like we're doing now, you want to hire police officers, everything comes to council. So we have two options. We could either monitor the budget monthly, but would everybody let Jim send a memo out to everybody, to George, to Arnie, to whoever could spend any money, saying all expenditures, no matter what it is, has to come through Borough Council if it's not a day-to-day operation expense? Or do you rather open the budget? I'm very confident that our budget, we're going to stay under budget again in 2014. And if interest rates project what we're thinking, we're probably never going to have to raise taxes again. Or we could open the budget up and try to eliminate the tax increase, but that's going to wipe out the fire department and everybody.
Are you asking what we...
I'm asking a question.
I am not in favor of reopening the budget. I think monitoring it the way a number of us discussed in the budget meetings is the better road to go, personally.
Anybody else?
Well, for me, it's something I want to sit and think about before I just answer, yes to, either way. You know what I mean?
Well, we only have this week to open it up, and we got to call meetings immediately.
I don't think I'm going to have a problem with it as long as, we're not doing this every year. If you think that this is it, and we're going to do our best to, hey, this is it, okay, this is it. And then we toe the line. And if that's the deal we're going to have, hey, we're going to toe the line and
Well, I don't think that, me personally, Dave, I don't think there's any wasteful spending in the borough. We all have different opinions on that. But the borough, since I've been here, stayed under budget. It was 6 or 7 straight years without a tax increase. We probably would have gotten by this year and maybe for the next X amount of years, but nobody could predict interest rates going from $1 million to $600,000 to 200 and some thousand. That's what caused the tax increase, the 5 mil tax increase with the borough. I think that, we didn't predict 4 snowstorms already going into January. So there's things you can't predict. So you always could say, well, watch. And it's really not my job every month to monitor this. It's all Adam's job to monitor it. You want financial statements like Mr. Devine wants from the people that manage our money. That's fine. You get the statement every month. If you have questions on it, you could call them, call Angie, call the manager. But we shouldn't wait until December to say, well, I don't know what's going on, because everybody gets the same packets every month, and every quarter we get financial statements from our investors. I'm still waiting for Mr. William Randolph Esposito to send his team in here to tell us how we can get all this interest on our money, which, our guys aren't doing the right thing, and he has guys that can get all this money for the borough, but apparently he doesn't want to bring them in, or he knows it's not true. But we're doing the best we can to get by. All right, so is everybody in agreement that no expenditures could be made except for day-to-day operations? Chief, Jim, put a memo out to everybody that they got to come in to council for what they need to spend. The other thing is, I had a meeting with Jeff Mano. Everybody knows who Jeff Mano is. He's former Major League Baseball player. He's still involved in the major leagues, who did a proposal, not a proposal, we just had a meeting about trying to raise revenue for the borough by doing tournaments. He had a proposal that said the tournaments would start in the spring and they would end sometime near Halloween. Every weekend that he could fill all the baseball fields with people from out of town that'll come in and do tournaments. I think that it sounds good. He's talking about different leagues and different things, but it's not my ward. I don't know how the people feel around here with, hundreds of people every weekend packing the facility. So, Tony, if you and Dave want to take the lead on this, maybe you can meet with Jeff, come up with, let the borough know what's going on, how you want to plan it, but he's been emailing me or texting me and the manager and some other people in town with this proposal. How it works, maybe, you guys can do this, present it to council, and then council will make a decision if we want to proceed with this or not, but I don't feel I should be making decisions for what's going on down on Jefferson Avenue. I will make decisions on Little League and stuff like that as a councilman. And as everybody knows, I'll never go against getting rid of Little League. But if there's something that you guys want to proceed with and it's good for the borough and it's good for recreation, and we could generate hundreds of thousands of dollars to the borough, feel free to do a presentation. You could either bring Jeff into a public meeting or you and Dave can do a presentation, but I think it should be up to you guys to handle that. The other thing is, we have appointments. Everybody got their boards and commission list in their packets. So we could either rehire the people that's on them boards and commissions, or you can make a suggestion in February, just like we do with anything else. You bring up a name, and council will vote on who we want there. We're starting our biddy ball program. I think it starts on, I'm looking for my paper, February 1st. And for more details, you can, where's it at? We'll get more information to give everybody. But the biddy ball program will be starting on February 1st. We talked in the back room previously. There's a conditional use hearing on Monday, January 27th at 7 p.m., filed by Gadenzia House. It's a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center that they want to put in Lower Bucks Hospital. And since part of that ground is in Bristol Borough, even though it's at Lower Bucks Hospital, council will have to make a decision on that. It'll be held here on January 27th at 7 p.m. Dave?
Yeah, I was looking for that address. It said Bass Street. I didn't realize it was, I was hoping it wasn't the doctor's office next to Unimart, but it's on the other side of the highway.
It's behind the hospital.
behind Lower Bucks Hospital.
So it really won't impact us.
It's like their incinerators coming to,
You'll get a packet soon. You'll get the full packet.
that's about all I have.
One quick thing is, I'm sorry, I didn't mention it earlier, our Gilmore Associates over at Columbia Lighting here, they spent a lot of money, somebody explain that one to me.
That deals with their sewer discharge, and that's reimbursed to the borough by Columbia Lighting.
Okay, that's what I was hoping. Okay, thank you.
And just to get back to people that do donate for the due-up cost the borough $15,000, not $25,000. And Gilmore Associates, R&S, a lot of people did donate their time and money to put the due-up on. Jim, do you have anything? No. Dolly?
No, but I would before, I don't know if you're going to go into the regular meeting.
I'm going to go into public
Okay, at
participation.
some point I would ask for a recess.
Okay, I'm going to open up public participation. Anybody on this side of the room would like to speak on anything? Please go to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Council Mayor. Good evening, board members. My name is Pedro Rivera. I am located at 247 Mill and Wood Street at 10th Round Boxing Club. I run the evening program for the youth. It's a nonprofit organization which we try to help the kids in the community to stay off the streets. Basically, we are working towards obesity in children, against anti-drug, anti-gang initiatives. I have present one of the young students from my gym. His name is Tyler, which, as you can see, is very enthusiastic about the sport. So what we're doing is we're trying to invite the borough to an event that we're having, because we have one of our students that's having something special happen for him. He's 17 years old. He's the first in the state of Pennsylvania in years to turn professional as a pro athlete, as a boxer in the state of Pennsylvania. He's also a junior in high school. He's also had over 200 amateur competitions, only with 11 losses. He's also an honor roll student every single year. And, you know, it's a lot of positive things that are going on for us right now. And for a lot of the students at the gym, we're all excited. And we wanted to extend the invitation to everyone to see us February 7th at the National Guard Armory in Philadelphia to support our youth. We also have kids in the community that are being sponsored by Plant a Seed, which they help our children to reach their goals and dreams. I'm also I just got a phone call, and our gym's going to be presented with Mentor of the Year Award in March for helping the youth, which I was kind of surprised by. I didn't expect that call, but it's kind of, you know, exciting for all of us, and we wanted to make it known to everyone our doors are open. You're welcome to come anytime and come see the students there and partake. We're also looking for volunteers that like to work with kids to help us out, just mentor them at the facility, because there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood, if you notice, that are always running around, and some of them actually end up coming to our facility, and I've helped a lot of kids even that are less fortunate just to have somewhere to be, just to be there. So we're trying to make an impact, and also hearing today's discussion with trying to do fundraisers and things of that to help the borough. We're able to help out in many different ways. If you guys would like for us to be partaking in anything as to helping with events, we can do shows and other things that proceeds can go towards the borough to help strengthen everything here, because I know a lot of businesses have been hurting, and you know, I'm not a quitter, and that's how we feel at our facility. We always try to improve, even though when you come across hard things that hit you. So that's why we try to teach our youth, because they're going to be our future. And, you know, I'd just like to extend that invitation. It's February 7th. The event starts at 6. We're also going to come back to the facility on 247 Mill Street to have a get-together, because it's mostly family and friends. But through the sport, we've also met a lot of other athletes, so there might be some Eagles players at our facility, like Deshaun Jackson, I think, is going to attend. We might have some pro boxers there, like Chaz Witherspoon, and a bunch of other people that the kids look up to. and we would like for the town to just come by, free food and refreshments for everyone, and just stop by and just say hello.
We're a little confused. The event's in Philadelphia
The boxing event is in Philadelphia,
on February
7th, and the same night, we're going to all come
You're
back
going
to
to come
celebrate.
back to Bristol
Correct.
at, what's the address again?
247 Mill Street.
247 Mill.
Correct.
And if anybody wants, so you'll probably be back in Bristol by like 9, 10 o'clock?
I would say about 10:30.
About 10 or 10:30.
Right, because I'm figuring with all the people that are
Right.
attending, and then take pictures and everything after his boxing tournament, because he's also the main event, which is usually unheard of, and also it's going to be recorded on Comcast Sports, which will be shown a week later. And we also have Top Rank coming down to possibly sign him to their promotions and stuff. So it's kind of like a really huge deal.
You want to spell your last name for the
Sure,
manager?
it's Rivera, R-I-V as in Victor, E-R-A.
Pedro, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And in the future, if you're here for anything, instead of waiting, just let us know ahead of time, and we'll put you on in the beginning,
Sure, thank you very much.
like we did for the theater and other people. So
Okay, thank you.
you don't have to wait around.
All right, thanks.
I got
Thank
a
you.
couple of questions for you,
Yes, sir.
Pedro. What weight is the 17-year-old kid that's fighting?
At 140?
140?
Yes.
And where's he go to school?
He goes, right now, currently, he moved from the area, he goes down to Warminster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he also plays football. Also, he played for the Southampton Knights separately and stuff, and he actually trains here every day.
Okay.
So a lot of the kids in the area know him well. He's been training with myself since he was about 8 years old. So he's 17 now, and I can't believe how the kids grow so quickly.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
are we here already? So it's kind of fun to see the kids grow. Like, he's been with me going on 2 right now, and Tyler is doing great, and this is another superstar that's in the making, and we got a bunch of good youth like himself. We also have single parents that come there that we also build relationships. Tyler's father is actually sitting over there with the orange hat, Chris. It helps build good relationships with the parents, because I like to get them involved with their kids, come and helping out, even helping them learn the sport, because it also helps them stay mentally, physically in shape, and set goals for themselves in life. And also, when they get pushed into a corner, how to keep their heads up and trying to keep pushing forward is the main goal.
Now, how many kids come through there?
There's right now about 30 kids.
Good, man.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you doing a great job, man.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
great job.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room like to speak on anything? Go to the podium, state your name and address.
Good evening, all. My name is Tim Sorman, 254 Madison Street. I'm here tonight to talk about the sign posted outside that door to no firearms in council chambers. And I had I conversed with 2 council members in the past couple weeks, and they were unaware that the sign was even up there. So I just wanted to name a couple things where that sign is currently right now. It's in violation of the Pennsylvania State Constitution. It's actually Article 60, or Section 6120 of the Uniform Firearms Act of 1995 that states the limitation on the regulation of firearms and ammunition. General rule, no county, municipality, or township may in any manner regulate the lawful ownership, possession, transfer, or transportation of firearms, ammunition, or ammunition components when carried or transported for purposes not prohibited by laws of this Commonwealth. And as recent as last week, a decision came down through Harrisburg. Now let's go back a little bit. In the summer of 2013, there was a rally out in Erie, and it was the city solicitor got a favorable ruling from the state Commonwealth Court and the state Supreme Court, and both courts rejected the emergency request of the activist, Justin Dillon, to immediately overturn a decision from Erie County President Judge Ernest DeSantis Jr. He found the ordinance was constitutional and could be enforced at the gun rally in Perry Square on June 22nd, stating that the sign, the illegal sign that they had posted, was constitutional. 7 months later, which came down last Tuesday, January 7th, 7 months later, and the Commonwealth Court on Tuesday reversed DeSantis in a favorable 7-0 decision and said the city's 38-year-old gun ordinance is unlawful and unenforceable. The judges, in an opinion published As precedent said, the State Uniform Firearms Act prohibits any Pennsylvania municipality from regulating firearms, leaving such rules solely up to the General Assembly. So what I just wanted to turn around and basically say, there are a couple things that are in law. My personal opinion is when signs like that are posted, it doesn't pertain to criminals. It doesn't. They're a criminal to begin with. They're not obeying any laws, or they wouldn't be a criminal. Basically what that sign is saying is me, law-abiding gun owner, Pennsylvania, I've done training, I have my license to carry firearms. What that's telling me is I'm not allowed to protect myself. So a criminal's not going to obey. I'm sure the officer can vouch that too, chief can vouch for it too. A criminal doesn't obey laws. He's not going to obey that sign. And basically what you're doing is putting that sign up telling me, a law-abiding citizen, that I'm not allowed to enter it. I'm a proud Bristol Borough resident. I'm a member, one of the board members of Concerned Gun Owners of Pennsylvania. I know we have spoken before. Our objective is to educate. We love working with people, helping them understand what's going on. We're trying to run programs. I think I actually might have talked to the chief during the summer a little bit about maybe putting something like the Eagle Eddy program in the schools again, reinstituting it, because what happens is these children aren't properly learning the rights and wrongs. They're learning from video games, they're learning from movies, and they're learning from videos, music videos. They're learning the wrong way. They're not being taught the proper way.
Here's just my take. I mean,
Okay.
I never owned a gun. I don't ever intend to own a gun. Who knows, maybe. What is the purpose of bringing a gun into this council chamber?
Self-defense.
I mean, do you feel that unsecure in there? Do you need a gun
It's nothing
in here?
about feeling unsecure. It's about
I'm just
personal
trying, I'm
protection.
trying to personally understand
Okay, no, I understand.
why people would need to bring a gun into a council chamber.
Because I have no idea when a criminal's going to walk through that door with an illegal gun.
So if he did, then what, do we have a shootout?
Well, it's going to be a one-way then.
What I'm saying is, God forbid a guy pulled his gun,
Okay.
you're going to pull yours to protect yourself or whoever's in the room,
Absolutely.
you know. All right,
But it turned
I'm
into a
just trying-
shootout, I don't know.
So
But
if that sign said the Borough Council requests that you do not bring firearms into the council chamber, you'd be okay with that?
I don't know how that would stand. I could contact.
Well, I'm
and see
saying
with our lawyer.
request, we're not saying you can't bring them in, we request that you didn't bring them in.
Right, as long as there's no penalty fine ordinances attached to that sign.
Well, we know that that sign's not enforceable.
Right.
All we're trying to do is deter people from bringing a gun into a council chamber, which we have kids doing presentations here, we have different things going on. I don't feel with a chief of police, a police officer in the room, that we need people now to bring their guns in too to protect everybody or themselves. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
You know, Tim, I don't have a, you know.
Let me give you a prime example where that hasn't worked. Upstate Pennsylvania recently, last year, a gentleman entered into a council meeting and killed several people.
That's where we're, you know.
He entered through the front door, took out a couple police officers and made his way through. He shot a police officer and made his way through. That's just an example. I'm not saying, you know, if law-abiding citizens aren't going to sit here and pull their guns out and play with their guns in council chambers.
The law-abiding citizen, when he comes to stop them.
Yeah. And exactly as a gentleman just said, a law-abiding citizen is the one who took the man down in that council meeting up in upstate Pennsylvania. So it's not a matter of, you know, feeling safe or protected or in that situation. It's, first of all, it's a guaranteed right in the state of Pennsylvania to be able to own a firearm and to carry it. But I understand your point. I understand what you're saying. We talk to a lot of people, and that's the position of our group, Concerned Gun Owners of Pennsylvania, is to help educate and understand. We understand that not everyone's going to agree with us. Not everyone's going to see our point of view. And we respect that. We respect that fully.
And I'm not here to disagree, agree, that's not what I'm here for. All I'm saying is, the solicitor, I think, could, you want to talk about that sign?
Yeah, when this issue came up a couple months ago, I was asked to research it, and the Uniform Fires Act does state that no county or municipality can regulate the lawful ownership, possession of firearms. And what was surprising, and to everyone I spoke with, and I even sent this off to our state rep, is the only exceptions right now are schools, the Capitol building,
Federal properties.
federal properties, but Borough halls, borough chambers are not exempt. So if people feel strongly about that, if that should be expanded, I would suggest they contact their state legislature. So the bottom line is this sign, as stated, is not enforceable. I think we informed the chief of that. No one's tried to enforce it. What I suggested to the council president, and council can make this decision, is maybe redo the sign to say, we would request that no one bring firearms into the chamber, but you have your rights, and we're not going to attempt to deny you those rights.
Right, and if you put up a sign to request, I would ask then, at that point, if you do state underneath, this is not enforceable by law.
Okay.
Because once you recommend or request, somebody could take that sign the wrong way. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear. Again, I'm not here to make waves with anybody. I just want to let everybody know that a lot of us are constantly our rights are being trampled on.
How many council meetings have you attended?
This is probably about my 7th one now. Not here, it's the first one here.
I want to say, it's your first meeting ever in Bristol Borough. I mean, I don't know how these issues come up, like, do people contact you to say there's a sign on the door?
Somebody did contact us, yes. And it was actually a posting on one of the Pennsylvania firearms sites that there was everybody now is watching. Everybody now is checking all their municipalities and their boroughs. And we were just in Falls Township a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago before Christmas. We were there. They have a sign located in their park that states no firearms allowed. Now that sign now is invalid because they were waiting on the ruling to come back from Erie, PA, and the Erie ruling was defeated. So now Falls Township doesn't have anything to stand on with that sign.
So you can bring guns to the playground now?
Legally? Absolutely.
Okay.
Because there's no guarantee that a criminal's not going to walk into a playground with a gun.
Okay.
There's no guarantee. It's the law-abiding citizens that are ones that are being attacked. To tell a law-abiding citizen they can't bring a gun to a playground to protect their family. So what if somebody does walk in with a gun? What if there's a drug deal that's gone wrong? A parent could be a drug dealer. It happens all the time. Somebody could be in the playground with their child. Another criminal's really aggravated with them, angry with them. They go to that playground to get revenge. It happens. Young adults, all the time, it happens. They go into different playgrounds or whatever. So if I'm there with my family, I have no way to escape that situation.
Right.
So I will do whatever it takes to defend my family, your family, anyone's family.
All right, so basically, Mr. Dillon, take the sign down. Is council okay with that, or is anybody else?
That's the law.
That's the law, take the sign down.
Okay.
All
Thank
right?
you.
Anybody else on this side of the room?
Eric Sikowski of 300 block of Lafayette Street. First off, I would like to welcome Mr. Sabatini as mayor, as well as Mr. Gerard to the council. I hope some new great things are going to be happening with your great new ideas and your promises to help make the police department work better. Tim, the gentleman just spoke very clearly, and I appreciate that you guys will abide by the state law and take the sign down. He's not trying to mess with anybody. He's just trying to avoid a lawsuit. A lot of municipalities that just put these things up and they know that it's unenforceable, they can get sued over that. For example, Philadelphia got sued for banning firearms. I'm not telling people to bring guns to a council meeting. I'm not telling them, but it's none of my business. Just, it's very good that you're looking out for making sure that the borough doesn't face any lawsuits from somebody. It's none of anybody's business, and I'm glad you're staying out of it. All right? Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody on this side of the room like to speak on anything?
Excuse me. Jason Grizzlia, 583 Linden Street. I just had a couple people call me that had concerns that are not being addressed tonight, and I would like to know why is the attendance so low tonight? There's actually people that called me on the phone that had issues in the West Ward that are not being addressed tonight. So for those people that are home, can we explain why attendance is so low?
You mean why they're
Yeah,
not
how come
here?
4 councilmen?
Mrs. Rodriguez is on helping somebody that has a major problem in her ward tonight. That was, the borough had to shut down condemn a home today, and she's trying to help people place them in other areas, which I think she's doing a great job by out there with her constituents. And Mrs. Trinnell is supposed to be home sick in bed.
Okay.
So is Mrs. Cullen, and Mr. Polensky was coming here and got called into work.
I'm not trying to trying to gripe on anything. It's just that I had people say that live on my street, well, I have things that need to be addressed.
They
and
tell you what they
we're
are?
not, no, they would not tell
Well,
me.
then, next meeting, we'll deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Jim Kirk, Fillmore Street. Just a couple things. The 401 Bass Street, that was cleared up, thank you, for the mental health and that thing. I thought it was on the side of 13, too. The high-rises not high-rises, the development that's going to take place near Lenox, do they have a time frame of when they complete that project? In other words, do they get halfway in and they can't sell them? You know what I mean?
They own the ground. I mean, it's like any other development. They bought the ground off of Preferred. The borough had nothing to do with any of that sale.
Who'd they buy the ground off?
Preferred Real Estate.
But they're going to do the townhouses first, not the high-rises?
They got to come.
When I say high-rises, it's a 5-story buildings with their...
Apparently, I'm hoping they come into the borough. I mean, our recommendation is they come in and at least speak to council to give us an update on what they want to do, what the questions you have.
Right, because I was under the understanding, just like Mr. Solano said, that there was a limitation of when that property should be developed. And you're saying that they were allowed an extension.
Well, right now, there was, I think this is the third statute, there were 2 amendments. So kind of it's open-ended at this point till the legislature thinks the economy has picked up enough. Basically what the legislature said is, listen, economy's not going great. People spend a lot of money for these land development plans. It's not fair to tell them they're going to lose it after 5 years when there's just no market out there. So they passed a statute that extended it, they did it again, they did it again. So right now, it's kind of open-ended. And of course, once they start the project, then they have time to finish it.
Right.
So.
And they did do a nice job on Dorm Road. They did.
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance they're going to lose the right to develop this plan.
I don't foresee, I mean, I could be wrong with the land development and what has to be put into that site, anything being built in 14.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how they would get through all the things they need to get through, and then, I mean, maybe they will, maybe be like the end of the year.
Right.
But
They need to meet a certain mark of sales before they can even get the financing to start building. So there's still-
I was concerned
I'm
about...
saying, even if they did with the underground sewer and water and
Yeah, I'm just
all
saying.
the things that has to be done on that site, I would say you're looking at probably 15 before you start seeing homes.
Okay. And then when you spoke about bringing the expenditures to council, put a dollar amount on that? I mean,
Well,
there's got to be some kind of
No,
dollar
there's things in
amount.
there like if, for instance, Arnie's got to get his computers fixed and it's $9,000.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there a dollar, like, you don't want to bring somebody come in for $500?
We're talking about things, hiring a new police officer, bringing in somebody to do something, buying a piece of equipment for the borough, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So it's something with a little
A
dollar.
police car, a
Right.
borough truck, things
Like, you're not
like
going to
that.
bring in a $500 item?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
I
And my
think
last thing, you talked about budgets and all, and I know this is going to be a touchy subject, but we have 4 fire companies in a borough. And my thinking, my suggestion is, I grew up in Bristol, so I know, we used to have 6 fire companies in Bristol. But wouldn't the monies be better spent if we cut that down to half, like 2, and really spend the money for equipment? I mean, you're paying for 4 buildings, utilities, equipment.
There's 5 fire companies and 4 buildings. And we've been pushing for a study Herbie, for how long?
4 years.
4 years. The previous mayor was involved in the study, and then something would happen, he said
He canceled it.
he canceled it.
And I'm not against, I mean,
Now, what
firefighters
we're
do a
doing
great job.
is, we asked Mr. Sabatini to fast-track this and see if we can get something done as soon as possible with a study to see what we need in this town.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something that I'm sure is going to be top on his list, to start meeting every month with all the fire companies, and hopefully in the next 2-3 months, he has a report and contacts the right people to get this study done.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room?
Ralph, can I just...
Sure.
The fire companies themselves raise about 80% of their operating budget, and that all of the equipment and the apparatus right now are in good shape because they've been highly successful in getting federal grants. So there really hasn't, out of the total, if you were to lump all of the fire company money, or all of the money that gets spent on fire protection in Bristol Borough, the borough actually contributes a very small amount.
For what we get.
Yes.
I always supported firemen. You know that since I've been here.
Not to say that there's not savings to be found.
Right. Anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody else?
May I say something? Get it real quick? I'll be brief. Just wanted to, I forgot to say something before. I wanted to say, I am in the East Ward, and I've spoken with Greg before. I got busy with work, so I never did get a chance to initiate a conversation about discussing safe programs, especially starting in the borough. And that's something I want to take the glorification that these kids see in movies, video games, and music videos. I want to take the glorification they see out of it and teach them that it's important to learn about gun safety. So I'd like to see if we can set up some kind of programs. I'd love to work with the mayor's office, the council, the police, to see if we can put some kind of program together to teach these children that it's not acceptable, it's not a great thing to run around and pretend that you're a movie star wanting to shoot and kill people. We want to take that out of it. We want to teach these kids that it's a very serious thing. Some kids, all they want to do is play video games, watch videos, and watch movies. That's how they learn. So we want to take that out of it, and that's our future. And the way we want to decrease gun crimes is to start heading it off now, and that's to teach people. We try to teach people not to drink and drive. We show children videos what drinking and driving does to you. We're now showing videos of what texting and driving can do to you, what kind of serious actions you can cause. But there's nothing out there. We're not teaching children about finding a gun on the side of the street that someone might have thrown out their car or using a crime. We're not teaching them what to really do about it. We really don't. We've stopped doing that in the past 2 or 3 decades. And these children, all they see is the glorification in our mainstream media now, and we need to remove that. So I understand what you were saying earlier about why do I feel I need to bring it here, and it's I was talking to a neighbor, another thing that came up. What if people are walking here, and they're walking, and they want to be able to protect themselves on the way here too. So that's just something else to think about. I myself, a lot of people I know, carry to protect ourselves. We're not flashy, we don't show them off. It's our right, it's our choice to protect ourselves, and a lot of people I know will do whatever it takes. I mean, look, we have fire extinguishers to help put fires out in our houses. So, I mean, because the fire department just can't get there fast enough sometimes. So we take precautions on ways to protect ourselves, the ways to edge off anything that could happen in the long run. And it's your personal right, whether you want to or not. I mean, it's your personal feeling whether you ever want to or not or carry, but one of our main goals is, again, education. So if I could, I'd really love to work with Bristol Borough in finding ways to educate the children. There's a great program.
I think you're at the wrong meeting for that. You should go to a school board meeting.
Okay.
And talk to the school
board.
Well,
there's also different ways, too, we can put together with the township.
I'm saying, they have more contact with kids.
Sure, but we can also do a Bristol Borough, a community day, just to teach and educate. I mean, we do Historic Bristol Day. There should be a section where we're teaching, where we're educating. I mean, it's great. It's a great program. People can come down and they get to see a lot of Bristol. But in order to initiate, to teach children thoroughly, you have to sometimes take them out of the element. Kids that really want to be there are the ones that are going to be there. So that's what I think we really should try and focus on, too. Philadelphia, I know growing up, used to run a great program where they used to etch in the side of car windows the, I guess, identification numbers if a car was ever stolen. And they would also have a DARE program as well. So the parents would be able to come in, bring their cars in to get the window etching, and then the children will learn the DARE program as well. So if that's something the borough would look to do, maybe a multi-facility kind of Bristol day, some kind of public awareness day, where children can learn about fire prevention, drug programs, DARE programs, learn about safety with guns, what not to do, what to do when they see it. I mean, how many of these programs do we see around Pennsylvania? Hardly any. So let's let Bristol Borough maybe be the pioneer in starting this off and kicking something off that could be really good for our children in the future of our country.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have anything? And then it's public participation. Anybody in council have anything? I just have one thing before we adjourn. Jim, you have anything? Mr. Devine, I have one question for you. You have made a statement earlier that it's called pay to play. What did you mean by that?
I said, the way it looks is that it means these businesses that are doing work in the borough are donating money into a political action group that only, supports a small minority of people. So instead of having that money donated to a political action group, I would like to see that money from the same companies so it looks more beneficial to the majority or most of the residents of the town.
I'm real concerned that you used the words pay to play, because I don't want anybody to think that any member of this council is accusing anyone of doing anything illegal.
No.
Okay? Listen, it's not illegal for any vendor to make a contribution to a PAC. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
It's perfectly legal. You're not stating that anyone's doing anything illegal, are you?
No. Mr.
Okay.
Salerno,
Okay, I want to make that clear.
I understand, it is
All right,
clear.
let me say something else, too.
Uh-huh.
Okay? We just heard we hear a lot about constitutional rights. Okay, the Second Amendment and the First Amendment. Well, these vendors have constitutional rights also. They can contribute to the DUOP, which they do. They can contribute to the Lions, which they do. They can contribute to the theater, which they do, and they can contribute to whatever candidates they want to. It's perfectly legal, all right? But I just don't want anybody to walk away from here thinking that any member of this council has accused any of our vendors of doing anything illegal.
No, and I would like to make it clear. Absolutely not. Absolutely am I not accusing any of our vendors. All I'm talking about is there's a difference between legality and ethically, right? And to me, the way it looks to the regular people who aren't involved in politics, if they see that there's a company that gets a ton of work, right, and they're supporting making contributions to a political action group or a PAC, I'm not saying it's illegal. All I'm saying is that what it looks to the eye of the regular resident of a town. That's all I'm saying. So absolutely not, are they doing anything illegal? I was not insinuating that at all. All I'm saying is the way it looks to the regular person of the town. It appears to be you're contributing, so we're going to give you work. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully that's clear.
But there are people that contribute to all kind of, to political things you're involved with, that are business people in town that contribute. So, you're making a statement, and we're just trying to get something on a record right now to make sure that...
Right, to me it's very clear.
Well, it's not very clear. You got reputable people in business that donate to a lot of different organizations in town and to a lot of different political people in town and outside of Bristol.
Right, but can you understand what I'm saying? And for the regular resident of town, for them to see that, I'm saying, wouldn't it be more beneficial for the resident of town to see that a company that does work in the borough, that we pay our tax dollars to, is donating to something that benefits the entire borough, like the DUWOP?
The organization that you're involved with politically, sent every one of them vendors
Mhm.
a letter for a donation. Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that.
Okay, so if they would have contributed to your election, which they chose not to, you would have accepted their money, correct?
No, I wouldn't have accepted
Well,
that
you
money.
send them a letter.
I'm not part of,
You're-
I'm not
wait a
part of
minute.
that committee.
No.
I'm just, I'm not.
You are
I'm
part
not
of a
on-
committee.
No, listen
Mr.
to me.
Devine, let me finish.
Look,
You're,
I gotta make it clear.
You're-
I am not part of any committee where I make a decision now. Is there a group that I support? Yes, but I am not part of any decision-making
okay,
part of
the
that.
group that you support, send a letter, and you agreed with me, to every one of the vendors that did work for Bristol Borough to try to get money off of them for your political election, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there
There's
is something
nothing-
wrong with it, and I'll tell you why.
But they did, and you were part of that organization.
And here's
Because
where you
they
go.
elected not to send you money, doesn't make this illegal.
Nobody said it was
What Mr.
illegal.
Salerno's trying to say is, you made a statement earlier, and we're on record,
Mr. DiGiuseppe.
that said pay to play. So
you
you
have to-
have reputable businesses that may have a problem with that tomorrow morning.
All right, do you feel personally, do you feel it's a problem that our own solicitor is the treasurer or runs the committee, another political committee? Do you think that is?
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there's nothing legally wrong with it. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's not legally wrong. What's the problem?
What's the
Why don't you state it?
Because, Mr. Salerno, there's no reason to get so upset.
No, you know
There
why?
is
Because you're
the
picking
understand-
on
it's-
me, because it's
I'm not,
personal.
nobody said anything about you.
Well, the prior,
Mr.
listen to
DiGiuseppe
me.
brought it up.
You want a
I'm
fact?
speaking, please.
Go ahead.
All right. So, what I'm talking about is the way it looks to the regular resident of the borough. There is a small group and there's vendors. I don't understand why it's so difficult to understand.
There's
The way people see things. I'm talking about the
There's
general
9,900
population,
people
right?
in this town.
Mr. Salerno.
Not
I am
one
still
has said
talking-
anything to
Mr.
me.
Salerno.
Who are these
Mr.
people?
Mr. Salerno.
Tell me.
Am I still speaking? I don't understand why you get to talk and I don't. All I want to do is finish what I'm saying. That's all.
Finish.
Thank you. So, again, it's the same idea. It's the way it looks. And like I said to you before, I wasn't part of any committee that makes that decision. Whether I support a committee, anyway, I'm supporting a committee because I feel that they have the best interest of the same way you do. I just don't like the idea that the committee that you have, right, or the committee that you support and you support is supported by taxpayer companies that get paid by taxpayers' money. I would like to see that money put into groups like the DUOP, so they can help.
They do.
They can help. I'm talking about the majority.
Gilmore put $2,000 into the do-up.
And how much did they put into the committee to secure?
I don't have it in front of me.
If you had a ballpark, was it more than 2,000?
Probably around the same thing, maybe $2,500.
Okay, but you don't
But
think that there's
but you also asked Gilmore for a contribution.
I didn't ask anybody
Your
for
group
anything.
did, and was denied.
Here's the difference. When you
So,
say,
that's the difference.
when you say there's a group, right? I'm not part of any group.
Sure you are,
I'm
Tony.
not
Come
part
on.
of any group.
All right.
Did I run for election under any group?
All I want to know
That's the only
is,
question I have.
I want you to know legally that you had made a statement earlier in this council chamber, which is on TV, that you have reputable businesses in this town that contribute to our election, may have contributed to your election, to Pat's election, to Dave's election, that are reputable people, and they're not going to appreciate the pay-to-play statement that you made. So you're going to have to deal with that after tonight.
Mr. DiGiuseppe, just so you know, so it's clear.
I don't-
I'm
you
not
don't
worried
have to-
about what I say on TV because what I say is what I believe. So
That's
the
good.
idea.
Keep talking.
Yeah, because the idea of what I'm saying is, it looks like, it appears to be.
Well,
right?
to you it does.
Okay, well, it does to the regular person. I think I have the eyes of the regular people in the community. I don't really feel that you do, that's all.
You don't feel I do?
No, I really don't.
What do you feel I'm doing?
I feel that you have the eyes of a different group, the upper echelon of the town, and, you know, and it shows.
So is there something wrong with the upper echelon of the town?
No, there's not anything. I'm just saying, you have the eyes for them, I have the eyes for the regular people, that's all. Nothing wrong with that. You have to work together.
I think we do.
I do too.
Okay. With that being said, can I get a motion to
We have
adjourn?
to approve these minutes? No? Okay, that's right. Motion to adjourn.
All right, Dave.